Because we know people who should be successful, but what? They're not successful. Why?
So that's his why buy. But what is he afraid of?
My personal style of education, but still entertain them, bring them along with stories, right? Who do we want to learn from? People who are what? Killing it.
If you're a real man, what do you do? I'm not the only one.
You can't wait to tell your spouse. You can't wait to tell your colleague. You can't wait to go to work and tell somebody. And you're like, oh my God, I can't wait. So what happened?
If you haven't seen my TV show, you should get cable. That's what you need to do.
From doing a TV show to doing corporate events, I've been so lucky to connect with many passionate entrepreneurs worldwide.
What I've learned from a business perspective.
Because this is the formula for success, no matter who you talk to. Attitude will drive your behavior. Would you agree? And your behavior will drive your consequences every single time.
All right, we got the concept. Okay, we got the concept. We got the equipment, right? We got the brand. You guys got that. And then again, we got the content that we create. That's the easy part. This is the big one, the big C, which is the commitment.
What should you do? That's right. All right. 10Xers, do not fail me. True test. Here it comes.
There's skill, and then there's will. Listen to what I'm saying. There is skill, and then there is will. And here's the interesting thing. I know a lot of people who have a lot of skill, but have no what? Will, right? You ever look at somebody who's successful, and you say, why them? Why not you? Yes, okay, that's me too.
You have more control, but your costs are also going to be what? Higher.
Now, here's where some of the magic is starting to kick in.
You can talk to any CEO in the B2B business, any CEO. You walk into his office and they only care about three things. People too. Yeah, he with the suit, put it up. There you go. I hope you can see this. I'll try to draw big. Let's pretend for a moment that I had 7 territories. You remember I wrote that out? Yes or no? Boom. Territory 2, territory 3, all the way to territory number what? 7. So now I've segmented my market.
So content is going to start being created by machines. And I'm telling you right now that those people, you guys, the content creators that connect with people are the ones that are going to win. Some people think, well, it won't work for my industry. Really? It'll work for any industry. Trust me. The majority of the time when we're looking to fix something, repair something, or learn something, where do we go? YouTube. We don't even want to read anymore. We go to YouTube. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
When you're doing your thing, beautiful things begin to happen. It's like the law of attraction kicks in. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're in line with the universe. Everything works. And when you do your thing, everybody gets an automatic MBA, which stands for what? Mega Bank Account Money. Are you with me? So we don't want to do a thing. We want to do a what? Beautiful.
All right, put it all together for Victor Antonio. Here we go.
All right, there we go. I'm not here to mess around. You ready to learn? Yes or no?
That's how it works in today's market. Whether it's B2B or B2C, you see the similar pattern. How do you just, in other words, say you got to start doing these things, pushing them, but also encouraging them. Oh, look at this. This is where it gets, dude, this is like so interactive with audiences, Matt. Can you imagine this with your customers? Check this out. Now, what does all this have to do with selling? It has everything to do with selling.
All right, welcome to another episode of Sales After Dark, where money never sleeps. Anyway, thought I'd jump on earlier. I felt like getting on earlier, so hopefully other people will join me. So anyway, if you're watching this on the replay, here's how it works. I answer I basically say hi to my tribe, and then we jump into some content. But tonight's gonna be about just you guys asking me questions. So, and then we'll wrap it up at the end. But tonight is your night, and so I haven't done an answering your tough questions session. So I said, you know what? Tonight's the night. I'll jump on early, and I'm gonna answer your questions. No holds bar. I'm gonna give you the hardest answers I can. A lot of things are happening in sales that are changing, so I think it's, and we'll get into that. But anyway, let's start out by saying hi to certain people. Let me see who we got. We got Ruben. What's happening? From my man from McAllen, Texas, man. Glad you're here. Pete Primo. Pete was on I did a virtual engagement masterclass, man. Pete, let me know what you thought of it. I thought it went pretty good, man. It was like 3 hours, and that 3 hours just flew by. We went over 25 different strategies on how to engage online. So, again, thank you for being there. Much love right back at you. I appreciate that. Shrukesh Godambe. Dude, thank you for being here, man. I know it's early, man, so thank you. Freddy Corona, saludos desde Las Vegas, maestro de los maestros, el mero mero de los mero mero, el capitán de los capitanes. That's what I usually say. But anyway, thank you, Freddie. Appreciate that. Allison Jones Hunter. What's happening, Allison? Thank you for being here. Mahmoud Ashur from Iraq, man. Thank you. What time is it in Iraq, man? That's also got to be early, man. So thank you for joining me. Chris Stone. You guys know who Chris Stone is. If you love the intro, if you see some of my the replays and a lot of the stuff on the stuff that I do with the editing, I don't do the editing. I just do the content. He does all the editing. He makes me look good. Thank you, Chris, man, as always. I always try to do my thing, man, so that's always a good test. Money never sleeps. You got it, Matt. Herb Walsh, what's happening? Happy money-making Eve. I love that. My girl, Mia Knox, West Coast, in the house. Good evening, still watching and loving the content and the virtual engagement recording. So great. Yeah, I know you couldn't join us, Mia, so thank you. Again, Mia was part also of the virtual engagement masterclass. She's watching on the private replay. People ask me if I'm going to put it on the Sales Velocity Academy, and the answer is no. People paid to be on that masterclass, so it would be unfair to them to put it anywhere else. So it will not be made public. But thank you for joining me. We're going to do that one again. The virtual engagement masterclass. We'll probably do that again in April. Hopefully you can make that one. Kush Patel, what's happening? Good evening, right back at you. We got Toby Goldstein. So excited to have caught this, Victor. Toby, I'm coming out a little earlier. Maybe that's why, but I'm glad you're here. Pete says, awesome. It was awesome. Thank you, man. You over-deliver. Thank you. It was a good session. Like I said, I think I had, by the way, I had actually more content to deliver, but I realized I ran out of time after 3 hours, and I'm trying to be respectful of time. 4:20 a.m. Mahmoud is just, he's a beast. You're a beast, man. You're a beast, man, for being up this early, man. So thank you. Who else we got here? We got Firat. I appreciate the humbleness, Victor. Thank you. Right back at you, man. Thank you. Hello from Singapore. Sean. Man, Singapore. I love Singapore. A very fine city, man. Rob Tyson from Austin, Texas. Man, you guys are blowing up. There's a downtown Rob. There's like this... It's like downtown Austin. What is the name? It's like a bar, but they have like the best pulled pork in the world, man. It's right off the main avenues where everybody hangs out at night. You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you do. Henry Lee, what's happening? I'm all ears. Let's go. What's today and tonight? Henry, I am all ears because one of the things I want to do is, Chris says, Toronto is in the building. And I miss my man, Leon Daly's up and running, man. Thank you for being here. Let me see. We got a couple of you. Blip News. I haven't seen Blip News in a while. I just got promoted to regional manager. I want to thank you for your content that's helped me develop as a salesperson, salesman, and as a manager. Dude, for that, you know you're going to get the applause. You got to get the applause. Good for you, Blip News, man. Good for you, man. Mahmoud said, thank you. Appreciate learning. Never sleeps. I love it, man. That's pretty cool, man. Franklin's. It could be. That could be it. That could be it. But you know it's really good stuff down there. Anyway, man, I'm going to leave this open for you guys. Like I said, I jumped on early. I got some content. I could go over some content. But I don't know. I'd rather just answer your questions. I get a lot of questions on selling. Hey, as a reminder, several things. One is I do this thing called... It's called, I don't know if you've seen it, the hashtag, let me get my markers going here. Let me get my markers ready. And the hashtag is hashtag This Week in Sales. So that's a new program I'm doing. I'm doing this program called This Week in Sales with a gentleman by the name of Will Barron, who has his own podcast. Will Barron is from the UK, from across the pond. And so we're doing This Week in Sales, and it's about an hour show where we talk about all the things that are happening in sales. We talk about technologies, for example, like sales engagement platforms, CRMs. We talk about sales training, sales strategy, what's happening, who's announced what. We actually do a lot of press releases, a review of those. And it's really a great program. So check out This Week in Sales. It's a great program. If you're on my, obviously, if you're on my YouTube channel, you can get it. But hosting this with Will is really a pleasure, and it's actually fun too. You know, I mean, we actually have a good time. So anyway, guys, I'm all for taking your questions whenever you guys are ready. So check it out. And yeah, again, congratulations, Blip, man. That's fantastic news. The other thing I want to mention is the Sales Influencer Series. So this is it's a podcast, but I call it the Sales, this is my little play on words here, Sales Influence or series. And so the Sales Influencer Series is on my podcast as well. And man, I just did a great interview, and Chris just did a fantastic job editing it for me. There's a gentleman by the name of Matthew Pollard. Matthew Pollard. He wrote The Introvert's Edge to Selling, and now he's written The Introvert's Edge to Networking. I love this guy, man. It's a great interview. I just posted it, I think, yesterday. And so check it out. It's under the Sales Influence podcast, but it's a series within a series where I interview like top experts. So check those two things out. This Week in Sales and the Sales Influencer series. The content, you know me. I'm not going to give you a lot of fluffy content. So the content is really good. And check it out. All right. Do we have any questions? If not, I'm going to go watch some episode. I'm actually watching, what am I watching now? I'm watching a series from the UK called Hinterland. Hinterland. It's actually pretty good. 3 seasons. Hinterland on Netflix. All right, Matt. Do we have anything, or do I get to take a break here today? I want to start practicing role playing. This is a good one. Oh, wait a minute. I got to say hi to my sister. This is my sister. Hey, Tita. How's it going? That's my sister, Nydia. So anyway, just getting back. So let me focus. I never had my sisters jump on, so it's like kind of weird. So anyway, that's cool. That's very, very cool. All right, Rob Tyson says, I want to start practicing role-playing every morning. If it's just me practicing alone, how would you recommend I practice? Michael's schizophrenic on this one. It's a real tough one to do. What I would do, it's a good question. I guess I never had anybody ask me that question. One of the things I do, Rob, and this might help a little bit. First of all, I think, let me explain that the best way to do role-play with somebody else is that I found is back-to-back. You get 2 chairs, you sit back-to-back, and then you decide on how you're going to role play. For some reason, when you don't look at each other, it just feels more authentic. So that said, one of the things I do when I practice my keynotes, my big keynotes for a stage or something, I never know how an audience is going to react. And so what I do is I try to imagine how they would react. So I'm the guy, I think I've mentioned this before, maybe you haven't heard it, but I literally walk around the house doing this. When I practice a speech, not joking, not kidding. My wife just looks at me like, I get it. He's a little weird. So what I would say to you is, say it out loud. I think this is interesting because if you just rehearse it in your head, it sounds one way. But when you say it out loud, it sounds completely different. And you'll be able to detect more errors in your speaking, in this case, your role playing, when you say it out loud. Just saying it out loud is going to change everything for you because, again, it always sounds good in our head till it comes out of our mouth. So if I'm doing the role playing, I would try to imagine what tough questions is the client going to ask me. So this is how I would set it up, Rob. What tough questions are they going to ask me? When I was in product management and engineering, helping with designs and stuff like that, I would go to the engineers who designed the product and I said, look, I got to go present this product to a customer. I need you to help me to prepare. What are the list of tough questions you would ask me to see if I knew what I was talking about? And the engineers would actually, write them out or just hammer me with tough questions. And that's how I learned. Somebody would just hammer me. So that's one way of doing it. What questions do you anticipate? How would you answer them? That's an easy one, right? But the thing we don't often think about is what questions would you ask?
And then almost like a decision tree, Rob, this is where you got to kind of practice by yourself. Almost like a decision tree. If you say, okay, I'm going to ask this question right here. That's too thick right there. I'm going to ask this question right here, right? That's the question you're going to ask. And then I'm going to get 3 possible answers, right? I'm going to get 3 possible answers. And so then you need to figure out what you're going to say for each answer, right? Now the goal is to guide the client to something you want them to arrive at. That's the trick, right? So keep in mind, ask questions, figure out what the 3 answers might be. For example, what do you think of this product? When you looked at our product, what did you like about the product? Just making this up, right? What did you like about our product when you reviewed the content, or why did you get in touch with us? Why did you like the product? He's going to say, I don't know, had a lot of good features, right? What are you going to say? Or he says, well, I like, this specific feature A, right? Or he's going to say, I'm just curious. I didn't really study your product. So when you get these 3, you're like, okay, which way do I go? And so I would try to practice that by myself. And I think that's actually a very good exercise to go through. So hopefully that answers it a little bit. Let me know what you think of that answer, Rob. Let me know what you think. Let me see, what else we got? We got Ruben. Ruben's coming up here. Ruben, let me clear this out like that. All right. Being in business with multiple products, one script doesn't work very well. It's kind of a flowchart strategy, like what I just did. What would be your opening script to find out what direction to go with the prospect? So I assume that you have, as you say, you have multiple products, right? Part of jumping on a call or in this case, a virtual call with a client is that, you got to know the companies you're calling. So this is a tough question to answer because I need more context. Let's say that I'm selling products into a doctor's office, a dentist. Let's pick a dentist, right? Now, a dentist would be different from a general practitioner or a therapist or a psychologist, right? So these are 4 different types of clients, but I know I can sell them multiple products. But if I know when I sell a dentist, I want to go in with a portfolio of products. Let's say I'm going in there with a portfolio of products. You know what problems these clients are having. In this case, the dental office is having certain problems. They always have certain issues. So I would try to figure out a questioning system, and I know you know this already, to figure out where they're actually struggling with. And so I would ask questions like this. When you look at your business, Mr. Client, where do you see room for improvement? Now they have to tell you where they see room for improvement. Like one of the things I use, remember the value trinity? I talk about increase revenue, reduce costs, expand market share. You could ask something like this. As we move into this new year, Mr. Client or Mr. Prospect, what is your priority? Is it to reduce costs? Is it to increase revenue? Or would it be to expand market share and generate more business? How would you prioritize those 3? Now, that response right there, Ruben, tells you a lot. If they're focused on cutting costs, then maybe that's when you start thinking about products you have or position your products to help them talk about cutting costs. If it's increased revenue, that might be another shift. Or if it's expanding market share, lead generation, or marketing in general, then now you know that market share is a clue. So I think if you have a high-level structured question like that one, increase revenue, reduce costs, expand market share, the prospect then tells you in what direction they want to take the conversation. Sometimes I would push. I said, if you have to prioritize these 3, how would you prioritize them? Increase revenue, reduce costs, or expand market share. Which one would be your number 1? And they're going to say, Victor, I want to reduce costs. Great. When it comes to increasing revenue or market share, which one of those is more of a priority? Then they give you the second one. And so that kind of allows you in your head to begin to calculate how you're going to do it, how you're going to actually position your product. It's almost like when you do product demos, Ruben. You do for those people who have to do actually product demos online, you got a new software, it's a CRM or some type of SaaS product. You have to ask the customer, what are your biggest concerns? I said, when you look at concerns, again, you start thinking like a product manager, you're trying to sell to them, and you say, what are your biggest concerns right now? Is it onboarding? Is it efficiency? Or is it, optimization of tools? Which one would they be? And they're going to say, well, right now we're looking at onboarding as being the biggest problem right now, getting people up to speed to use a system. Great. And then you go from there. So ask what I call the superstructure questions and then dig into the more specific questions. Let me know how that answer worked out for you. But I think it's figuring out those questions that I think are big. JM says, Happy New Year, Victor. Any ideas for the best side businesses, hustles to start?
for 2021? I always get this question, Jay. In fact, you may have given me this question in the past, Jay. There's so many side businesses. Here's what I'm going to say to you, Jay. You're not going to like me, but I'm going to say it to you because we're pals. I like to be direct. It isn't so much about what businesses are out there. What business would you love to start on the side? Like, what's something you like to do that you'd like to start on the side and just create that as a side hustle? Because you can do a side hustle, but if you don't like it and you're having to force yourself to kind of get motivated to do it, it's just going to cause you more angst in the long run. But what if you got a main hustle where you're making money, paying the bills, right? You're paying the bills. But then you say to yourself, where would I like to make money on the side doing something I just enjoy doing? And then that's what I would focus in on. And as soon as you tell your brain, let's say you pick whatever, I don't know, let's say you pick anything. Let's say you want to go into, I'm trying to think of a good side hustle for you, depending on your hobbies, what you like to do. And let's say you like merchandising. Making stuff. So then I would say, okay, what do I have to do with merchandising? And then you start focusing on merchandising. Then you start seeing merchandising. You start seeing different types of merch. And you say, you know what, I want to focus on this type of merch. And then you start coming up with brand names. And you say, I like that merch. And now you want to put the JM logo on that merch. And then now you love selling what you have. Do you see what I mean? So it's not what are the best side hustles. Why don't you create a side hustle that one day may become your main hustle? That's what you need to do, man. Let me know what you think of that. You are covering exactly what I want to know. Okay, perfect. Thank you, man. Thank you, Victor. I'm a member of the Sales Velocity Academy also. Boom! If you haven't checked out the Sales Velocity Academy, that's my online platform. There's some good stuff coming down the pipe. So this year, I'm like doubling down on some really heavy new content, but a lot has to do with like remote selling. And so if you're having to sell remote, because it's still going to be part of our reality, I think this year, I'm going to be adding some more content. I'm going to be adding some motivational content. I'm going to be adding this week, I think I'm adding something called The Logic of Success, which is based on my book, that one right there. And it's like a 6-part video series on motivation and how to stay motivated and how to succeed. So that's going to be in the Sales Velocity Academy. So if you haven't signed up, at least go check it out, thesalesvelocityacademy.com. And again, for those of you who are members, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. Pete, thank you for the kind words, man. I appreciate that. Shrutesh, what do you got? Sales meetings with 50 to 100 people, cooperative housing societies, members to make decisions. How would you handle? Ooh, man. So sales meeting with 50 to 100 members to make decisions. How will you handle it? Add some more to that, Shrutesh. Are you trying to get, first of all, if you got 50 to 100 people, are you trying to pitch a product from your virtual platform? Is it one product you're pitching and you're hoping to kind of convince them? Tell me what you're trying to do. Help me with that one a little bit, because it's almost like two questions. I'm having a sales meeting, but how members to make decisions, like what type of decisions do they have to make? Help me out a little bit and I'll answer that question, okay? Let me see, what do you got here? Stephanie Vasquez. All right, let's see what you got, Stephanie. I sell home improvements, specifically roofs. I like you already, right? And it is extremely important that both the husband and the wife are present for my presentation. Know where you're going. What is your advice for convincing the husband and wife to make sure the significant other is there? Good. I mean, I deal with this one all the time. So a lot of my customers are what I call B2R, business to residential, which is what you do with roofing, pest control, plumbing, HVAC, and things of that nature. And especially some of the bigger decisions, right? What I've noticed, Stephanie, and I would love your feedback, Stephanie. I would really love your feedback. I've noticed that when it comes to home improvement, it seems like, to me, that the woman seems to always take the lead. She's always like making the main decision. And the husband is just there to maybe support her. And so, but I'm going to answer your question specifically. You know, the thing is, we all know the basics, right? Before the meeting, you know, you try to get them to both be there. And you're going to ask them to both be there. You're going to explain to them how important it is for both to be there, right? You know that already. So let's deal with the real problem, because you know how to ask them to be there. I'm sure you know how to create a sense of urgency to say, look, it's important that you're there because we're going to be discussing ABC, and this is a 15-year investment. We're talking about your roof and so forth and so on, right? So you use all those and all that. The problem is sometimes they don't want to show up, right?
I think it's easier now because, because of the pandemic, more people are at home, so it's always kind of easier now to get them both. But one of the strategies that I teach, and I think I did a Sales Influence podcast on this one, and it is like, what do you do when the other person isn't there? Because that's the real challenge, right? What happens when the other person isn't there? And then the person says, no, my husband couldn't make it. Just give me the information. I'll talk to him tonight about it. Right? Or the other way around. No, my wife's going to be later on. She couldn't make it. Just give me the information and I'll talk to her. And you're like, the good thing about Zoom is that you can actually do some of this. And I know you still have to go there and do the walk around. But anyway, let me focus. Let me not digress into virtual selling for roofers. That's another topic. But what's interesting is, here's what I found works, Stefan, here's what I found works, Stefan, is that let's say that you do everything right. You ask for the other person, the spouse, to be there. They don't show up. You said it's urgent. They still don't show up. You send an email before the meeting reminding them the time of the meeting and to make sure that they're both there, right? You do all that. You do all the right things, right? But they still don't show up, right? So let's say you're doing the what? So let's say you go there and you're going to meet with the wife or the husband, right? One person, the other person isn't there. Again, I like it when I'm meeting with the wife. I've noticed, again, I think women just seem to take the lead and care more about the nest, as we call it. That's what I tell my wife, this is like a nest, and you seem to care more about the nest than I do, right? And so what I do is I pretend that the husband is there. So let's say I'm talking to the wife. I pretend that the husband is there. For example, if I'm going outside and I'm looking at the roof, one of the questions I'm going to ask is something like this. Have you and your husband discussed how long you're going to be living here? Do you plan to live here for the next, 5 to 10 years? Or is this, you plan to resell the house in the next 1 to 2 years? Have you guys talked about that? Notice I include the husband. As I'm talking about different features, I ask things like this. So when you talk to your husband, what did he say about this specifically? Did he have any advice? Or I would say, when I'll mention something and I go, what does your husband think about this? What would he think about this? She goes, I don't know. A lot of times I think that's what he said he wanted. So by always asking about what the other person would say, even though they're not there, it seems like it brings in the conversation. I can't explain it better, but it does work for me. And once I start talking about the husband or the wife as if they were there, like if I'm selling something, I'll just say, by the way, when you and your wife sat down to talk about this, what were some of the pushbacks you had? Let's say I'm talking to the husband now. He'll say this, this, and this. What were some of the pushbacks that your wife had? And he goes, well, and again, that'll tell me how much they actually talk, because that's the real problem, right? We don't know if they're communicating, and you got to ask those questions to see if they're communicating. That's the real problem. I think the other stuff you're probably doing the right way, which is to make sure you invite them both, make sure they're both there. You emphasize a sense of urgency, why they both should be there to make a buying decision, because it's a very complicated decision and one that's going to require both of them to support each other, blah, blah, blah. You do all that. But if all that fails, try this strategy of always pretending that the other person is right there and then asking, what would your husband or your wife think? How would they make a decision? How would they move forward? What do they want to include? For example, one of my biggest customers are pool companies, right? And we do the same thing. When you talk to your husband about pools, what are some of the things that he wanted? What are some of the things that she wanted? Let me know if that kind of helps. But I think mentally that's kind of what you're trying to get over, right? What happens when they don't show up? Let me also know, Stefan, how you're doing it virtually. I would like to hear your process, how you're doing it virtually, man. You got me curious now. I wanted to sell 56 cases, let me see, one item to one customer, and I was asked not to until they buy other items from the portfolio. What are your thoughts? I wanted to sell them 56 cases of one item to one customer, and I was asked not to until they buy items from another portfolio. That's a head scratcher, because I'm like, I'm going to sell them what I can sell them. If they're interested in the 56 cases, why not sell them the 56 cases? Why wait for them to buy? Because their interest may be on the 56 cases. So I'm confused on that one, Mia. I would never tell my salesperson not to sell them 56 cases. If I thought you could sell them the 56 cases, I'm like, sell them the 56 cases. Unless there's a reason they should buy that first before they buy the 56 cases. But if there's no logical reason, then there's no logical reason for anybody to ask you to do that. So I don't know. That's an interesting question, but that's weird. That's different. Henry Lee,
From a sales coach perspective, what are some strategies to get tenured agents re-engaged and excited to sell when it seems like they are stuck on autopilot? I was having this conversation today. We're talking about, you put it very nicely though. I like the way, see, I can tell you're a sales guy because you put to get tenured agents. Very well said, Henry. That's like saying, hey, how do I get these old guys to change their ways and get more excited about what they're selling? That's kind of what you're saying. But the way you said it was so diplomatic, it was beautiful. So a lot of them are engaged because here's the problem, Henry. I'm going to go hard on this one, okay, if you don't mind. I get it that baby boomers don't want to change. Old dogs, new tricks, that whole thing, right? I get that. But the problem, I think, is compensation plans. See, compensation plans, if they're designed for status quo complacency, that's what they'll do. So, for example, I'm the old dog, right? I'm selling the way I've always sold. And if my quota stays the same and I'm happy with my compensation level, there's no motivation to change. There really isn't. I'll just keep doing what I've always done because I always get what I've always gotten. That's what people think. That's how people think. When I talk to companies, and one of the first things I ask, I said, show me how your compensation plan is structured. Show me how they make money. Because once I know how they make money, that tells me how they're motivated. Now, again, I know motivation goes beyond money. I get that. But money is a big component of it. Don't let anybody fool you. So I would ask you, what is their compensation plan? And if it's a very flat compensation plan. So let me come at it from another direction, Henry. If you're one of my sales guys and you sold $500,000 this year, $500,000, being conservative, right? You're not going to get the same quota from me. Your quota is going to be like 600,000, 650,000. That number keeps going up every year. It doesn't stay flat. So my question is, are you doing that? Because that's one way of motivating people. To see if they're not hitting their number, then I got to find somebody else. I hate to say it this way, but I got to grow the business. I got to scale it. I can't afford to have people who just manage accounts. Because we know there's farmers, people who manage account, and there's hunters. And so depending on the type of company and business you want, if you just want a steady business, I get it, then you got the right people. But if you want to scale your business, you got to change the compensation plan, and you got to make sure you tie their compensation to a quota. I am so from a quota world that when I hear that salespeople don't have a quota, it just boggles the mind. I'm like, what would motivate me to want to do more? And so I know I'm not answering your question because one of the biggest reasons they're not motivated is probably because their compensation plan doesn't motivate them to make more. And if they're making money and it's enough money, they're happy, they're satisfied. And then you can do several things. One is you can give them a higher number to motivate them. Two, you can begin to take responsibility away from them because they're not doing what they should be doing. Thank you. And you know what I mean? So all these things are important. So keep that in mind, that it's how you compensate them, how you reward them. And by the way, reward can also be like recognition, prizes, anything, right? Sometimes people just want to be recognized. That's all they need. So that's what I would look at. What is the compensation plan? And if it's a flat compensation plan and it's not forcing them to grow, they're not going to change. They're not. And I see this a lot. I see this in baby boomer salespeople. Baby boomer salespeople have always done it a certain way. They're waiting for us to go back to normal, right? Where we can all get face to face. And they're not learning, they don't want to learn the new tools. They don't want to learn the new tricks, right? They're not motivated. But yet, they keep doing the same thing. Let me know if that's kind of on par with what you're thinking. Let me know what you think on that. Would love to get your feedback on that one. Rob Tyson, cool. Let me see. How do you see this year playing out business-wise? Do you believe buyers will continue to buy differently in the Zoom in the future, specifically using Zoom to be more efficient? Yes. Look, the thing is, everybody's shocked. We shouldn't be shocked that, we were moving in this direction anyway. We were moving in a virtual direction. This pandemic just forced us to make a hard right turn. We were moving in that direction. And so what's going to happen this year? Look, first of all, nobody knows what's really going to happen, okay? So even I'm going to guess right now, okay? So I'm going to admit that I'm going to guess right now. But I have a hard time believing we're going to go back to normal. You can't do it. We'll never go back to normal. Why? Companies are discovering that they can sell as much, if not more, and we've talked about this, Pete, right? Via Zoom. right? Using all these platforms. The question we should be asking ourselves is, as a salesperson, as a real salesperson, is not when are we going back? That's the easy way out. That's the easy question to ask. When are we going back? And that's just hoping we'll go back. The real question we should be asking ourselves is, okay, this virtual thing now is in play. In other words, people now use this. So how can I now learn to leverage this new tool? That's what we should be asking. The question is, when do we go back? The question is, how do I learn to use this new tool to sell more? And if we do go back, great. But guess what? We've now changed. You've changed. I've changed. We've changed. Virtual is now an acceptable way of doing business. Virtual is now an acceptable way of doing business. It's an acceptable way of selling. So it's part of our, toolkit now. And if you don't see it as part of your toolkit now, then you got a problem. You've got a big problem, right? Not you specifically, Pete. I'm just saying in general. If you don't think it's part of your toolkit, it's a problem. Just like look, when we started selling, it was all face-to-face. Then we went to email, right? We sell through email, right? We just accepted that as part of the toolkit. Then we started using newsletters. Then we started using video. Then we started using texting. Then we obviously started using social media somewhere in there. All these things became part of a toolkit. Virtual selling is now part of the toolkit. That's all it is. And I think as soon as you see it that way, you go, oh, I get it. So I got to figure out when to use virtual selling and when not to. So what's going to happen this year? Pretty much the same thing. I think 2021 is going to be the same thing. We're not going to change that much because I think it's like 40% of the jobs pre-pandemic are not coming back. They're either going to be replaced, eliminated, or displaced somewhere else because companies are seeing that they can sell. Again, their cost structures are going down and their revenues are still at the same level, if not higher. That means their profit margins are crazy right now. So they're going, wait a minute, this works, which is why you're seeing, Pete, an explosion in the investment sector. That's why, again, guys, if you listen to This Week in Sales, the program I do with Will Barron. This Week in Sales, we actually look at where the investments are going, and they're throwing money into CRMs. Sales engagement platforms. What are sales engagement platforms? These are platforms like think of a sophisticated CRM system that helps you talk to the customer at the right time, at the right place in their buying journey to give them the right content. And the amount of money being pushed into these platforms is amazing. Why? Because companies know that we're not going back to normal. We're going to be using platforms. A lot of stuff that used to be done by field sales, outside salespeople, they're going to pull them in and they're not going back out. If you're an SDR, a sales development rep, BDR, business development rep, you've been working in front of a computer and you've been on the screen, this is your moment. This is your time because guess what? You've now become the most important sales tool within a company. So I don't think it's going back. I think the Zoom thing has to be something you have to invest in. We talked during the virtual engagement masterclass where I encouraged everybody, get a board, build a studio. This is your new first impression. This is your first new suit. This is the first thing they see. And I think as soon as we accept that, I think we'll be better at selling, man. So sorry for the long answer. That was a long one, wasn't it? Sorry about that. I would love to hear Victor sell freight services when everyone wants cheap shipping. Yeah, I get it, man. And by the way, I'm not saying I can sell everything, but I've been there. I've sold that. I've sold, look, when you sell into international markets, one of the biggest concerns is always shipping, right? FOB, shipping, how do we pay for it? Who pays customs and all that stuff? So all that has to be negotiated. But it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling a commodity product, I don't know, pencils, for example, it's really hard to kind of sell the shipping cost, right? It really is, especially if the other person's giving it away for free. So the cost structure has to be there. But when you're selling important equipment, then you can probably make an argument on that. So although I don't have all the answers, and maybe I couldn't sell it, maybe for all I know, you're right. I can't sell that. And there is no way to selling that, but I would have to know more, but I would try. There you go. Victor, appreciate it. Victor, indeed, passion makes that jump out of bed in the morning much higher. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Jay. You just got to love doing something. Do your main hustle, get your business going, and then do your side hustle. I'll tell you a personal story, Jay. Now, I won't get into too much detail because I don't know who I'm talking about. I have a friend who's been working for a company for, I'm just going to say at least 2 decades, which is 20 years. And it's almost like, he's finally woken up and realized, wow, I've been giving all my time to somebody else, another company, right? And I've never done my own thing, you know? And that's a hell of a way to wake up 20 years later to kind of realize, wow, I should have done something now. So Jay, now's the time. If you want to start doing something, now's the time. And just begin to look, just at least, I'm not saying start right now, but at least orient your brain to say, let me start looking for something I would really like to do as a side hustle that one day becomes my main hustle, man. So I love the fact that you're thinking that way. As we as salesmen, what is the best way to deal with people who's in charge or the purchasing team, which we need to deal with in order to sell our products, and they need a benefit or a bonus? I know what you're asking me, man. Like I said, I know what. That's a tough one, because it's like, you know, oh God, these people. When I started selling international, you know, can I just be? I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be blunt with you. The amount of people who wanted me to give them something in order for them to buy from me was incredible, right? It really was. It really was incredible, because I had people saying, you know, yeah, you know, maybe we can change the specs. We can do this if. You know, and there was always that if. And then they always want to go to dinner to talk to you about it, right? I had purchasing people always want to go out to dinner and talk to me. I was VP of sales. They wanted to talk to me. And it usually came down to what's in it for me. And I'm like, you know, and I was like the legal representative of the company, so I couldn't do anything illegal, right? And so all I can say is that when you're dealing with a situation where purchasing has, you know, the keys, right? All I can tell you to do, if you want to play it safe and you don't want to do that, that's not who you are, is that you want to build enough momentum around the people who need the product that they put pressure on the purchasing person to do that, right? And that's the only thing I could recommend. I mean, it's such a dark hole to go down when you start paying people off. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, but if that's the direction, when somebody asks for, as you say, some type of benefit or a bonus, what's in it for me? It's a dark way to go down. I don't like doing business like that. I didn't like it. So we walked away from deals because of that. We couldn't do them. But what I've learned is that if there's in any decision-making process, especially in a B2B scenario, you got 9 to 11 people maybe involved, right? Depending on the number, depending on the country in your case, right? And so I would say that I would start talking to everybody around who needs that product. So if I'm selling, for example, to a supervisor, I'm going to talk to the supervisor's boss. I'm going to talk to their colleagues. I'm going to talk to their managers on the side, everybody else, to say, this is the product you need, right? And then you have to make a hard judgment call if you want to confront the purchasing person. And sometimes you just have to say, can't do it. I said, I can't do it. You know, we won't do that. We won't do bonuses. We don't do, as you say, benefits. We just don't do it. And I think you'll sleep better if you do it that way. So your call, man. It's an ethics call, man. It really is an ethics call, man. So sorry I couldn't help you on that one. I think Shutes was saying he has 50 to 100 decision makers. When you have 50 to 100, how can you have 50 to 100 decision makers, though? Yeah. If decision makers are, how do you have 50 to 100 decision makers? For one decision? Okay. Pricing teams don't shop around for best price. Pricing teams don't shop around for best prices. That could be. But explain this one to me. How do you have 50 to 100 people making one decision? I want to understand. I've never heard of this, so I'm actually curious. Maybe, Shrutesh, I'll learn from you, man. 50 to 100 people making one decision? Now, I can see if it's 50 to 100 people each making their own decision, you're trying to sell the room. But I'm confused on that one. But I don't want to answer without understanding it. 38 watching, 8 likes. Free info, boys. Come on. Yeah, I mean, hit the like button when you get a chance. But again, let me know. Taj, the great one. Hey, Victor, just happened to see this one. This on. Thank you for being here, Taj, man. I appreciate you. Leon Daly. What do you got, brother? Exactly, Victor. Ladies always take the lead. I myself is in the construction, and whenever, there's a part B to that, but I know where you're going. Here's the part B. We are always making the latest tech leads for once we got them on our side. It's almost a done deal. I'm just saying, I have my theory, but it's going to come across as so chauvinistic that people would yell at me, so I don't want to give you my theory. But I've noticed that if I'm talking to a couple, male, female, the female has more leverage, more power. I'm just talking about here in the U.S. I'm not going global here. It could be different, but I'm just saying here in the U.S., and it's because men know happy wife, happy life, right? Maybe that's part of it. But also because I think really that it just depends on roles, man. Like I said, my wife and I'll give you our roles, how we work. So we've been together now 34 years. 34 years, right? And so we came to an agreement years ago, that, anything that has to do with the house, and the kids, she takes the primary role in that. And then anything that has to do with business, i.e. cash flow, I take care of that. And it's worked out beautifully for us, right? And then she manages everything. She manages the financing. She manages everything. I don't even know how much money we have sometimes because I just give her the money and all comes in, direct deposit, and then she manages everything. So she manages like our financial portfolio. She manages all of it for me. And then I worry about the business side. And it's worked out beautifully for us. We've had a great agreement and we love it, man. 34 years, so something must be working, right? So something must be working. Let me see. It's extremely hard to sell to a couple when only one spouse is present. So this is not real popular stance for most people, but for me, I would suggest rescheduling the meeting. And again, yes, you can make that. And by the way, thank you for bringing that up. Very good point. I'm glad you reminded me of that. That the other option is to reschedule. Okay, the other option is to reschedule, and then the problem is that you got to be careful how you do that because you might offend the person when you're rescheduling, right? And so, but it's a good point. So it's a good strategy, and I'm glad you reminded me of it. And I think I forgot who asked me the question about selling to one spouse. This is a great suggestion, but again, there are consequences to it. But sometimes if you look at your deal list, your deal history rather, and this is where you bring up a great point. If you look at your deal history and you go, I had 30 meetings in the last month. And in those 30 meetings, every time there was only one person, not both people, it never closed. And you may draw the conclusion that it's not worth it because I'm not getting enough deals, right? The close rate's not there. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that maybe that if you're talking to one person, that maybe your presentation should change a little bit, which is what I was suggesting as well. So either way, but I would be guided by the data. And if my data told me, this is why I think you're right, if my data told me that every time I have a meeting and both people aren't there, the close rate is very low as compared to if I just rescheduled and get them both there, then I am 100% with you. So it depends on what your data is saying. You are absolutely correct. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But by doing that, the couple now knows that I'm not here to mess around and I'm serious about what I do. And again, what you're saying is so right. You value your time. That's what you're really saying here. You value your time and you're letting the customer know that your time is valuable. And if they're not serious enough to have both people there, then apparently this isn't a real decision. I'm agreeing with you. And again, that's just one strategy. But let's say that you don't have a lot of leads. Let's just go with that one. You don't have a lot of leads. And then the person says, no, we can't reschedule. We have to do it today. Then what do? You don't have a lot of leads. Why not go and why not see if my strategy would work? So again, you're right. Again, your time is valuable. Hold on to that idea. So again, thank you for that. Rose says, Rose House says facts. Let's try to drop facts. All right. Sorry, Victor. My phone was giving each other up. But like I was saying, get the ladies on the side and believe me, man, there will be because they. Yeah, I get you, man. I get you. Stefan was the one that asked the question, I think, man. So Stefan's got a beautiful. Look at this. It's got nice couple, man. Beautiful couple there. Where were you guys at? I don't know where you guys at in that picture. It's a beautiful picture. Anyway, thank you, Victor. And yes, I have had much better luck with just the wife rather than just the husband. Interesting. See, this is the type of stuff that you just kind of mentally start collecting data, which is why Tyron Truong, you're right, man. Again, you start collecting data and you start figuring it out. Rather than just the husband, our virtual sales are pretty non-existent. I've had 2 Zoom calls so far, and both of them were duds, rental properties. People are home right now, so it's pretty easy to present and sell in the house. I think so. Everybody's at home. They're not going anywhere. So the fact that you can't get 2 people in a room makes no sense to me. So interesting, right? But I think during the Zoom call, so I'll step back, Stefan, and that is, so one of my customers, I think they won't mind me mentioning this, is Window World, right? Window World, they sell windows. And they figured out how to measure, it's a little different from the roof, but still, they figured out how to measure windows from the outside. And they can do everything basically via Zoom. And what they do is they have a staging area, right, where they have a television like this. And I talked about this in the virtual engagement masterclass, where they have a camera called the Portal. Facebook has this camera called the Portal. So they set up a TV with this camera, almost like a webcam, but this one actually follows you around. So they set up a room, almost staging area, with all the different windows. And what I can do is, for example, Steph, I'm trying to sell you and your wife. I get you on the call, and then you asking me some tough questions. I said, well, let me bring in our expert who's in our staging area. And then they bring on this third person, and the person's like actually showing windows, like, okay, here's what this one does. It flips out, it's double pane, so forth and so on. And their sales have like, the number I saw for the group in Tennessee was like a 20% increase in sales using that strategy. So that's one way of using virtual to make that happen. So kind of be creative. This is what I think we're going through now, Stephen, is that, I don't know if it's Stephen or Stephen, so I'm sorry. One of the things we need to start asking ourselves is how do we become creative with these tools? Like, that's a perfect example of being creative. Like, my question to you is, do you have a staging area where you have all the shingles set up really nice along the wall, really nice, where you can actually walk somebody through a virtual call? Imagine talking to somebody like that. Nobody wants to see a video. Nobody wants to look at a PDF brochure. Nobody wants to look at a PowerPoint. They don't. But what if you had a room, just get a big room, and then just had all these tiles, and you had this TV that followed you around. Now you set up the call, says, look, I'm gonna walk you through some tiles, and and then you do a show and tell. That's an idea for you, man. I'm just saying, let's think about this. Let's get more creative, man. All right. Don't get comfortable. Message from old sales manager to the sales floor. Yeah, don't get comfortable. Never get comfortable. Taj the Great One just dropped $5 on the super chat. You're awesome, man. I appreciate it. How to get off a performance improvement plan and stay off. How to get off a performance improvement plan and stay off. Yeah. Depends on what they want. I mean, when I put people on a performance improvement plan, what I did was, I highlighted things for them. What I need you to do in the next 30 to 60 days, right? And if you really listen to the manager, your manager, they have certain needs. You got to keep in mind, your manager is under a lot of pressure to get certain things done. So what you need to do is really understand why they're unhappy. So when I put my ego to the side, right? Because sometimes we get hurt. Like, what do you mean I'm not doing the job? What do you mean I'm not so? It's our ego, right? But once you put that to the side and you just say, all right, let me just really try to understand what my manager is asking me to do. Because maybe she has the roadmap that I don't. So to get off the performance plan, follow to the letter everything they're asking you to do. But I would also say, ask questions to really try to understand why they do certain things. So for example, if they want you to do something a certain way, do it A-wise. Don't do it like B, just do it like A. Ask a simple question. Why wouldn't you do it like B? Help me understand. See, people want to help you. They do. Your managers want to help you as long as you're coachable. That's the big word today, right? You got to be coachable. And if you want to get off a performance improvement plan, be coachable. Put in the hours. You want to stay off of it? Continue to be coachable. And I think that's all they want. They really want you to succeed. Nobody wants to fire somebody, have to find somebody again, have to retrain them. So keep that in mind. They don't really want to do it. But if something's not lining up and they put you on a performance improvement plan, then you need to figure out how you need to line that baby up, okay? So I know it's a very general answer, but I think you get the idea. Good morning, Victor. Could you please tell me what is the sales trinity for B2C? Yes, I can. So it's physical, financial, or psychological. So the trinity would be like this again. It's physical, and I'll explain. It's financial, and it's psychological, right? So when you're selling, depending on what you're selling, like I said, when you're selling a product, you're trying to solve three problems. For, let's say, a homeowner, or maybe you're selling like network marketing. People sell, weight loss programs or gym, fitness, and things like that. You're trying to solve the three problems, right, for B2C, which is, first of all, how is this going to help you physically, right? How is this going to help you financially? How is this going to help you psychologically? And believe it or not, they all tie together if you think about them. If I'm selling you a weight loss program, I just helped you physically, right? But I also helped you psychologically, because when you start losing weight, you start feeling good about yourself, right? So psychologically, you feel good about yourself. But wait a minute, because you feel good about yourself,
and you've lost the weight, you got more energy, you're performing better, maybe that'll impact your finance. And I try to tie all those three things together. Let's go from a money aspect. Let's say that you're interested in joining a company just because you want to make more money, right? Or you're trying to sell somebody on the idea, hey, if you sell these products, you can make more money. So now you're entering the Trinity from the financial side, right? Now, again, what's the pitch there? Help to make more money. But it's not just about the money. It's how you're going to feel about yourself because of the what? The money you're making. You're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel less stress, right? In other words, your cortisol levels are going to go down. You're not going to be anxious. And that's also going to impact how you feel what? Physically. So that's how I would use the value trinity in all three cases. Let me know if that helps. Let me know how to stop Fortnite addiction. Man, I don't know, man. But you let me know so I can let my son know how to stop Fortnite addiction, man. So that's a funny one. That's good. That's funny, man. What do you believe we have to focus on more? Selling customers on pain to avoid or desire greed to get. I think people, studies have shown this, right? Neuroscientists and, all the different studies on what am I looking for? The word. It's economic behavior, that people will move twice as fast away from pain than they will towards gain, right? So people want to avoid pain as much as possible. So avoiding pain is always a much better pitch because you're trying to say, hey, I don't want to deal with that. And so in your case, depending on the product, let them know what they're going to lose. If you don't take action, here's what's going to happen. Here's what you're going to lose. But if you just start talking about, do this, and this is what you're going to gain, they didn't get it. I've mentioned, I think, Jay, you may have known this. So I did a show called Life or Debt, right? So it's on Spike TV. It's called Life or Debt. You can find it on YouTube. And so Life or Debt I'm the host. It's a reality show. And I did one full season. You can watch it on Amazon or Hulu. It's like $1 an episode. No, I don't get a commission. But you can see all the trailers on YouTube. And what I found out, Jay, is that I can tell, I work with families. Here's the structure. I find a family who's struggling financially. I go in there for a whole week, try to get them to change their bad behavior. I try to figure out what's going on, assess them, make the changes, impact them, and then come back 90 days later to see how they're doing, right? And what I figured after the first couple of episodes is I can tell somebody, come on, man, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. We can get out of this financial hole. It didn't work. But when we went for the pain, which is, here's what you're going to lose. And wait till you see some of these episodes. I mentioned this before. By the fourth episode, they had a bodyguard on set because the husband and the wife wanted to kick my backside, right? And so I realized that when I made people feel the impact of what they could lose if they didn't change their habits, everything changed. So I would say pain is a much better motivator, man. So good question, though, man. Hey, Victor, Happy New Year, my friend. Thank you very much, Relic Oranges. You guys got some great names, man. I love it. Henry Lee, what do you got, man? I appreciate the insight as always. I agree both monetary and recognition are up there on the list. What about agents who don't care to participate in monetary recognition contests? But again, they don't need the money. That's when somebody doesn't want to participate in monetary recognition contests. Maybe I can help you like this. Let me look at it from this perspective. I'm going to guess here, okay, Henry? I'm just going to guess. I'm going to give you a baby boomer's perspective. A baby boomer's perspective, which differs from a Gen Xer and a millennial's perspective. It does. It has nothing to do with the labels, has everything to do with age, right? And as people get older, right, money begins to take a back seat, life begins to take a front seat. In other words, how we live, our quality of life moves to the forefront, money moves back. I'm not saying it's not important, but it moves into second place. And so when you're leading with people who now consider their lifestyle more important than money, then they're in that mode. And I've seen a lot of baby boomers in that mode, that their quality of life takes priority over making money. So it doesn't matter what you tell them about money, right? Because they're like, I'm happy with what I'm making because I'm living this quality of life, right? Recognition. They don't need recognition. They're secure in who they are. When you're younger, we're more insecure. We all are, right? But as you get older, we lose some of that. I'm not saying everybody, but the majority of people just kind of go, you know what? I don't care what you think, right? So recognition isn't a big deal. So
that may be what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? It's apathy. Apathy, indifference. I just want to get it done. I just want to do what I have to do and just leave me alone. You know, and so let me know if that's the attitude you get, because I've seen that one a lot. Like, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to do something like that. My income was up significantly, and my expenses were reduced by 70%. Boom, there you go. That's a perfect example of what's happening in the market today. I told you guys that when the pandemic hit, I lost 90% of my business. Gone, right? So I had to figure out how to go virtual. I wasn't going to wait for this thing to go back to normal. I went virtual. That's how I created Sales After Dark. And so my point to you guys is, and Pete's highlighting this, is that we got to figure out a way to make this work. But the beautiful thing is that my cost structure has gone down. The amount of time I spend traveling is almost like non-existent, really. And so all these wonderful benefits of working from home and still selling, it's a beautiful thing. So again, virtual is not a bad thing. We just have to find a way to make it work. So thank you for bringing it up. Lee, if the carrot doesn't move the needle, I recommend the stick if it's within your purview. I didn't want to go there, but dude, I'm glad you went there. That really means, thank you, Pete. That's funny, man. You could use the stick, but again, that's not a long-lasting relationship. So, it is what it is, man. You're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. So I couldn't help you sell shipping better, man. So you guys are funny. Let me see. I gotta get out of here. It's already 9:15. I work network marketing part-time. When I cold call prospects, should I pitch my business like if I was selling B2B or B2C, or should I just ask them if they're open and invite them to a presentation? Trond. So this one I get a lot because, network marketing, one of my biggest customers is a network marketing company called Plexus, right? Very cool company. And like I said, I think I've mentioned in the past, I like their management because they really push down the money into the it's not a pyramid scheme. They really push the money down so that people can make, the downlines can really make money. And so the question always becomes is, how do you approach somebody, right? If you're cold calling. And I think that's a tough one, Trond. It really is. What I've seen work, and I've talked to the best of the best who do this, is that they're constantly exposing themselves on social media, especially on Facebook. And what they're doing is they build a tribe of people that trust them. And they start talking about what they're doing and how they're succeeding, what are the opportunities, and people get curious, right? Like they'll do a live call, and a live call is just to talk about, for example, one lady I know who's just really clever about it, what she does is she'll do a live Facebook, right? And the topic could be how to stay motivated, right? Let's just say that, how to stay motivated, in a negative world. And it's during that talk, she begins to talk about her lifestyle and what she does. But she doesn't like beat people over the head and trying to sell them something. She goes, this is what I do. This is what I'm changing. This is how I'm trying to improve my business. And then she lightly touches on what she does. And she'll say, and if you want to find out what we do, just go over to that link over there, that page, and then she keeps going. And I'm like, brilliant. Because first of all, she's talking about something she's passionate about, how to stay motivated in a negative world. And she's just sharing real content. And then she drops how it impacts her business and what she's doing to make things happen. She'll do another one, like how to connect with people. Something simple, right? And then she does the same thing. They keep talking, and then she'll say, it's like when I'm looking at selling my product, I need to connect with people. And here's a couple of strategies I use to connect that seem to work, in my business. And a lot of you guys know my business. Well, anyway, go check out my link if you want to see what I do. And it's a very nice way of not pushing, but pulling people in to the conversation. Try that. I think that's a very, you know what I mean? And then you can invite them to a presentation, Tron, or maybe listen. Because then somewhere in that conversation, say, by the way, we're having this presentation that we're doing. So if you're interested in finding out what we do, click the link there if you have time. It'll be a 15-minute presentation, small commitment. Might be worth your time to listen to what we do. And then but the thing is, remember, they're not buying the product. They're not buying the service you're selling within network marketing. They're buying you. And the more you make yourself that person that's affable, people want to be like you, they like who you are, then that's what they're attracted to, okay? So keep that in mind. Hope that helps, man. ISO Merchant Services, it's all about selling rates. Okay, new program allows the fees to be passed to the customer. Problem owners are scared of the small fee, thinking they will lose customers. 4%. Yeah, that's a tough one, Brian, right? Because we're always looking at how much these merchant services are charging us, and we're always looking for the best fee. This is a perfect example of it's hard to do any real product differentiation, right? Different merchant services. Well, I offer 4%. I offer 3.95. And so the problem, I think, in this business is that it's not so much the percentage is important, and people don't want to lose that. And if they see the number goes up just like 0.5%, they're going to say, I might lose business because maybe you have not done a transaction because the merchant fee is just too high. We've all done that. And so that's a real cannibalizing business, merchant services, because everybody's looking for the cheapest rate. And unless you can find a way to add value to, making sure they want to switch over, they're not going to do it. You're probably trying to get them to switch over from their existing merchant service to yours, right? And sometimes, even if you give them a little better rate, they'll say, no, we're comfortable. Even if you provide them a bigger rate, like a 1% different, maybe, right? They're probably scared because they don't know who you are and what's the impact on their customer base. All this is to say that is a tough business. That is a real tough business to sell. My question is, what's the value add beyond the percentage points? Because other than that, even I'm like that. When it comes to like merchant services or paying, fees for something as far as transactional services when I sell stuff online, I'm looking at the rates all the time. But for example, I use a platform called Kajabi. Kajabi has the Sales Velocity Academy, right? And so we use Stripe as a backend, right? As a credit card holder. So I can have them come in through PayPal, but PayPal charges me a certain fee. Stripe's charges me a certain fee. Well, I'm going to push them towards the cheapest one because there's no other differentiator besides fee. I don't know if I helped you. I don't think so, but it's a tough business, man. It's a tough business. That's a tough one, man. Maui Dog, marketing versus sales. Marketing. Yeah, you heard this on a sales show. Marketing. Marketing is now dominant. If you have not accepted that reality, you're dreaming. Marketing is now dominant. I should call this marketing after dark. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is you still have to sell, of course, but right now what's happening is that marketing is how people find you. The example for Tron was that's how people are finding you. They're marketing. You got to learn how to be a great marketer. You got to learn how to be a great brand ambassador. That's not an empty phrase anymore. Brand ambassador. You got to find a way to brand who you are. Even if you're part of a large company, find a way as an extension of that company, become a brand where people know you, like you, and trust you and all that good stuff, right? But marketing right now is so important. And now, as we move into this virtual world, it's like pedal to the metal because now it's all about inbound. Again, a lot of outbound calling, that's selling. But the majority of companies are working on their inbound lead generators, how to get people into the funnel, how to connect with them during their buying journey so that by the time they do call you, they've already been touched by so many points of marketing, right? So marketing is a big deal now. I used to laugh at marketing. No more, Maui Dog. No more will I laugh at marketing. So Taj DeGrossa, say it. All right, it's tough to deal with the dark side from our business. I know, man. I know. You and I could probably shisha together and we can share stories. Trust me, you and I could share stories. So, and it's a tough one, man. I know. I got stories. We could exchange. Okay. If you know how cooperative housing societies with 1,500 flats, a big complex, everybody wants to jump in on decision making. Yeah, okay, now I get what you're saying. Yeah, I know how that works. Shrew test, that is so hard because everybody wants. So here's what I would do. One of the things I would try to do is during the conversation is that you got to figure out, you got to find a way to engage the audience. And I don't know if you're live or if it's Zoom. If it's Zoom, it's even tougher. But depending on what you're selling, you got to find a way to get the majority of people on board with what you're selling and what you're proposing. How do you do that? You got to figure out a way to find commonality, right? So I'll take the political environment we're in now, right? The media is very divisive, right? Democrats, Republicans, some independents, right? This is an example here, right, in the United States. Now, but here's the interesting thing. If you were to just zoom back and just go to each side and put them all in the room and said, all right, can we just agree on some basics? Let's get some basics out of the way. One, do we all want to be happier in this country? Yeah, we can agree with that. 2, do you think we should have, fair wages? Probably get an agreement on that. Maybe argument on what the number is, but you get an agreement. 3, you know what I mean? You walk through all these things about how you want business to perform, and you'll get more agreements. And you'll realize in the end, you disagree about maybe 2 or 3 things philosophically, but 90-95% of the things you agree on, right? And when you're having this type of situation, which is very difficult, I don't even know if I can do it. So I'm not the guy to ask with confidence to say, this is how you do it. But this is how I would do it if I would approach that. I would figure out, what do we all agree on? What are the basics that I can all get them to go, yes, yes, yes. So if I'm doing a presentation, I'm going to go for the yes, yes, yes first, right? So I'm going to get a lot of yeses. And then what I would then do is frame the points of difficulty very carefully. So for example, can we all agree that we want this? We want better security for our flats. Yes. Can we all also agree that we don't want to pay a lot of money? You're going to get a yes, we don't want that either. Can we also agree that having surveillance cameras in every apartment is not feasible? Yes, we can agree with that. And whatever it may be. And then you move into say, so here's what, now that you've done this, so we agree on all of that. So really what we're talking about is just these 2 things right here. So let's now conquer and divide, and let's talk about this one. And let's talk about the pros and cons about this one. So that's how I would attack it. And again, I've never had to do that, but if I had to guess as how I would approach it, that would be my approach. The closest I got to that was being in front of a committee of people, a panel of people, but at most there was like 12 at most. And I would go through a scenario like that. Here's what we all agree on we need. So the real points of contention are these 3 things right here. So let me go ahead and explain what these are and how they would work, right? And so let me know if that helps, man. So I don't know. Dude, you're awesome too, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Lots of love from India. One day I'm going to India, man. I'll be doing something with, it's to be announced, but I'll be doing something with Salesforce. It's a big Zoom event for India. So I'm looking forward to doing that. That's advice right there. Good. Let me see. Of course, we give them the signs galore, explain how to pitch it. That cash, it's a discount, but still they're scared. Got it. All right. Got married in Dominican Republic, my friend. You made my wife smile. You guys look great, man. You guys look great. 34 years, man. I'm setting the example, man. I'm setting the example, setting the standard. Do you still use the alternate close as a closing technique, or is it outdated? Do you have a favorite close? I use the alternate close. I really kind of use it all the time, actually, but I don't. It's, man, Mike, it's all in how you present it, right? Because you can, but I like to use, I should be more specific. I like the option close. And I've always talked about if you present 2 options, people go to the cheapest one. So I like to do 3 options, no more than 3 options. And so if you go to my website, if you go to the Sales Velocity Academy, right there, you'll see that I have 3 options. You can do a monthly, annual, or lifetime, right? And then I've noticed that people will drift. My favorite close, it's a simple close. Is there any reason we shouldn't get started? That's my line, because it isn't so much the close. I think this is what I keep reminding people. There's 105 ways to close somebody. Listen to do me a favor, Mike. Go to the Sales Influence podcast, and there's a podcast with a guy by the name of James Muir. Now, if the name sounds familiar, is because James Muir wrote the book, The Perfect Close, right? And I highly recommend the book. Do I still have it here? No, it's downstairs. But anyway, so The Perfect Close. And his close is pretty dang good. It's so simple to use. You'll love it. So get the book. I recommend it. Now, it's not just that The Perfect Close. Look, you can go online and read what The Perfect Close is. It's all the content in the book that supports The Perfect Close. That's really good. But he tells a story, and if you just look for the Sales Influence deal, he tried one of these closes on a client, and the reaction was so negative that he lost the deal, and it was like $1 million deal. He was telling the story on this interview on the Sales Influence podcast. So again, find what you feel comfortable with in terms of closing. I know a lot of sales gurus out there, experts telling you, use this close, that close, try this. In the end, you're going to find your close. And I like James' close. In the perfect close, it's a really nice close. And I would use it. I like it. But find your close. You could use the alternate. I like options close. Based on these 3 options, which one best fits your needs? Because I'm giving you the power. So I showed 3 based on what we've talked about. And by the way, sometimes I'll nudge them. I got to be honest, Mike. Sometimes I'll nudge them. For example, I said, look, based on what you need, we have 3 options. But based on, really listening to what you're telling me, I would only recommend one of these 2. Which one of these seems to be more in line with what you want or with your budget? Let them decide. My whole thing is to get them to take a step forward and buy something, and then I can upsell them later. By the way, my upselling book is coming out soon. Thank you so much for all your knowledge, Victor. Thank you, Mike VG, man. Love it. Stefan, got it. I knew it. I thought I was right, man. Stefan, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Todd says the great one. Thanks. Brian Gator, where you been, brother? Really enjoyed the Sales Influence interview. Thanks to the Introvert's Edge to networking with Matthew Pollard. He talks about how introverts sell, and the guy, his story is just great. So again, the Sales Influence podcast, check it out, man. Great question, Jay. Cool. Gators in the house. That's right. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. You guys are cool. You said hi to each other. Jay says, appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Let me see. Appreciate it, Victor. We'll work on that pain pitch and getting a bodyguard. By the way, any tips to dealing with aggressive prospects? Hang up on them. When somebody's aggressive, it's usually because they're angry. You ever think about this? You ever think about prospects? The reason prospects are aggressive is because they're angry. They've been screwed before. And all they want is not to be screwed again, which is why they come up as aggressive. It's not a sign of bravado or courage. It's a sign of insecurity when I see aggressive prospects. So, if somebody's being aggressive, again, my first question is, whoa, wait a minute. I said, you're confusing me with somebody you've dealt with in the past because I've not said anything to warrant that type of reaction. I said, so tell me what's going on. I said, there's no need to yell. There's no need to get angry. What's going on? I'm here to help you. If you don't want me to help you, I'll leave. That's fine. But I'm here to help you. What do you need? But I let people know, no, you don't talk to me like that, in a nice way. So don't confuse me with somebody else. So I don't know. You got to find your way of saying that without really, But I think people are, they've just been screwed in the past. That's why they're aggressive. I think people who are very aggressive, very short to get angry, is because they've had bad experiences in the past and they just, they don't like salespeople. So give them the control, man. Sadly, he's 100% correct. Quality of life is critical at our age. You get older, it's quality of life, man. Abu, Henna, Mustafa, Kamal. Thank you very much, man. How you doing, man? Doing good. More important, let me see if I got you guys saying hi to each other. I think you guys ran out. This helps a lot because I sell portable oxygen to patients, but with most people staying in, I have to adjust. You can do it, man. Find out how to understand. Let me see. How to understand. Gator Victor slated on Friday. What's this one? I missed this one. Sorry, man. I'm just reading over here. Stay on Friday with the virtual. Thank you, man. It was really good. I thought it was good, man. So thank you. That's reassuring. How to understand the need of the customer. Amarnath, just ask him. Just really take your time. One of the things we talk about is you slow down before you speed up. And that is, too often we just want to give them the answer right away. It's like a customer says something, you have the answer, and you want to just give them the answer right away. Sometimes it's just about asking questions, man. I'll say it once. I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it again. The average salesperson practices what to say. The best salespeople practice what to ask, because when you ask the questions, you really guide the conversation. But more importantly, you let the customer talk, the prospect, and then they like you that much better because you're listening to them. And sometimes we're just too impatient. Just got to slow down, man. So I would start there, man. Abu, what do you got, man? Hi, Victor. I've watched most of the videos at the Sales Velocity. Thank you. And feel pretty confident to start job hunting. I wonder if there's any advice for me to get the interview to get sales job, as I have no previous job experience in sales. That is not true, Abu. That is not true. We all have sales experience. What you're saying that you don't have any formal sales experience. If you're married, for example, Abu, or you have a girlfriend, trust me, you sold her, right? On that you were a great guy. So we're always selling, right? But also, when your question is well stated. When you look at it as a negative that you've never sold, I would flip that in an interview and say that's a positive. The fact that I've never sold, but you've always been a customer. People have always sold you. Am I right? You've always bought from people. People have sold you. And because people have sold you, you know how you want to be sold to. And if you know how you want to be sold to, then that's how you want to sell. See what I mean? So you can take that, what you perceive as a negative, and I turn it into a positive. You've been a consumer pretty much all your life, right? All your adult life. You've been consuming. And you know what a good salesperson is, and you know what a bad salesperson is. And you've absorbed the good and rejected the bad. Now you want to implement the good. Kind of use that mindset, when you're talking to customers or interviewees, because what they want from you. I gotta tell you a story, Abu. You're gonna love this story. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. This guy calls me out of nowhere, like around December, where I think it was right before Christmas. He calls me up. I don't even know the guy. He found my number. He calls me. I never answer my phone. I never answer my phone if I don't have him in my actual phone, right? If I don't have the name, because it's always marketing, or it's always people, that I don't know, and I just and so, but I don't know. Maybe I was in the Christmas spirit. I was feeling a little generous. So I answered the phone, Victor Antonio. And so this guy starts talking to me. He says, hey, my name is da-da-da. I found your name on the website. This might be an unusual call. He goes, but I have an interview. He says, I have an interview. And I can't make this part up. The part that's coming, I can't make up. He says, I have an interview, and, I haven't done an interview so long. I've never sold, and it was pest control. He goes, I've never sold pest control services, da-da-da. I'm really nervous, and, I didn't think you were going to answer. I just thought I'd take a shot in the dark, just, pray to God somebody would answer the phone, and, you did, type of thing. And I said, well, okay, well, tell me what you want. Tell me what's going on. And he says, well, there's a company called Orkin. And I said, Orkin, the pest control company? He says, yeah. And I'm interviewing for them. I said, well, I think you really lucked out. God's looking out for you, because that's one of my biggest customers is Orkin, the pest control company. And so I spent the next 10 to 15 minutes coaching them on what to do, what to say, right? And a lot of it had to do with mindset and attitude. Abu, it had to do more with mindset and attitude. What they want at Orkin is that you care for your customers, you're going to ask the tough questions, you're going to listen, and you really want to help people. That's what they want to feel. That's what they want to feel in the interview. You want to make money, of course, but you want to help people, and you want to sell their services, and you're going to do everything you can to learn their product so you can sell it the best way you can. That's what they want to hear, right? And so about 2 weeks ago, again, a week after, second week of January, or something like that, first week of January, he sends me a picture, and I got to show it the next time. But anyway, he's doing a selfie. He's got the Orkin shirt on and the car with the Orkin logo in the background, because they give you a company car. And he just sent me the selfie, and it was really cool. It was very satisfying. My point to all this, besides that's a cool story, is that it was all attitude. He said, I'd never really sold that. I said, well, that's not what they're looking for. They're wanting to know if you're coachable. Can I teach you how to sell this product? Would you like to learn this product? Would you be very aggressive in selling? By aggressive, I mean go after customers, really care about your customers. That's what they're looking for, man. Just keep that in mind. Don't lose that. That would be TP. That would be a tough one to answer right there, but I'm sure there's different ways you can make that happen. Sweet, I couldn't make it, but yeah, it was great. It was great. Great point, Victor. I agree. The plans back to the center when you say, okay, let's agree on, and just try to move them back to the center. That's all you can do. So Shrutesh, man, good luck with that, man. I would actually like to hear how that went, man. Like I said, and thanks for Zoom event in India. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, let me know how that, I want to know how that went. Tron, let me see. Tron's got one more here. Let me see what he got, Tron. So before the marketing kicked in, you have to reach out. Would you just invite to a presentation? Yeah, I would just invite. But again, as soon as you use the word presentation, you're freaking me out already, right? I don't say, hey, I'm gonna do a sales after dark presentation. No, I say we're gonna do a sales after dark. And so maybe, Tron, part of this is not so much about a presentation. So before the marketing kicks in, you have to reach out. Would you just invite them to a presentation? I guess my approach, I'm just giving you my approach, Tron. I'm just saying my approach would be what I do with Sales After Dark, which is give people great content, and people go, oh, I like this guy's content. Where can I find more? In your case, you're selling network marketing. Find topics that you just want to talk about that help people. Do you know what I mean? In your network marketing world, what if I asked you right now? What are 10 things that people are concerned about or thinking about that your product or service can help them with. So let's say it's health, right? Then I would get online, Facebook Live. People will find you. And by the way, I would invite people. If I'm on Facebook, I would invite people. Say, hey, by the way, today's topic is about, really managing your weight and da-da-da. 3 things you can learn from da-da-da. And then you give them real content. Don't give them a sales pitch. Give them real content. Have you noticed that when I talk to you guys, I'm not pitching the sales velocity all the time. I'm not doing that. I'll mention it a couple of times, and that's it. You guys are smart enough to, connect the dots. If you want to learn, learn. If you don't, that's cool too. But I want to give you content that every time you see the Sales After Dark, you're like, I want to go hear what Victor has to say. I just like listening to him. He shares great content. What if they said that about Tron? I like listening to this guy. He just shares great content. He really cares. It could be, I read a book on weight loss. I wanted to share what I found in this book. And you talk about the book. And then you slightly mention, your product or service. That's all you do. I think that's the best way to market. That's my style, Tron. You may take a more aggressive style and be more successful. I know people who are more aggressive than me, who are more successful than me, but it's not me. I sell the way I sell. You should sell the way you sell, man. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Wait, Mike G says I'm confused. Whoa, you're confusing me with someone else you dealt with in the past. I didn't do anything to warrant that reaction. Yeah, it's like, whoa. I said, did you just confuse me with somebody else who screwed you in the past? Because I haven't done anything wrong to you. Why are you yelling at me? And people are like, what, like that. So, Abu, what's happening, man? Thanks, Victor, for being so generous with your time with me. I am 21 years old and looking forward to work hard, to learn skills, to get the freedom in life, and grateful to you for sharing your insights. Abu, selling is a great profession, and I'm telling you, if you learn how to do it the right way, if you learn how to sell the right way, you'll always have a job. You'll always find a position because, again, people always want to hire. I just heard a story. A guy told me the same thing. He said, Victor, I wanted to get hired. They said, no, we don't have the money. We can't afford you. He says, well, I don't want money. I just want commission. I'll sell on commission. That's how confident I can sell your product. Guess what? Hired. Do you know what I mean? So all the examples are all over. So again, on that note, I'm going to close this out. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button if you like this conversation, asking tough questions and me just responding. Let me know if you like the format. Tried to keep it casual. Tried to give you guys great content. And on that note, I'm signing off. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how and you hang out with Sales After Dark.